He was a 3-time All-Star, a 2-time All-NBA team selection while averaging 16 points and 8 assists, and he was also considered one of the top point guards in the league during his prime, and yet today, he's barely remembered. No debates, no highlight reels, just a name that used to mean something. And before the NBA, Deron Williams was the lead guard for Illinois. In 2005, he led one of the greatest college teams ever, a 37-2 squad that fell just short of the national championship. He wasn't the fastest guard in the country, but he had one of the highest basketball IQs. And with court vision that dissected defenses and a body built like a running back, Williams controlled the tempo like a maestro. And after his junior year, he declared for the 2005 NBA draft. That summer, Utah selected him 3rd overall, right behind Andrew Bogut and Marvin Williams, and just ahead of rival point guard Chris Paul. Utah believed D. Will would fit perfectly into Jerry Sloan's old school system, structured, disciplined, and demanding. And while the spotlight followed Chris Paul in New Orleans, Deron Williams was quickly preparing to redefine what a point guard could be in Salt Lake City. And when he arrived in Utah, he wasn't handed the keys right away. Jerry Sloan's system was not easy for rookies, especially point guards. Sloan's offense demanded discipline, patience, and absolute control. And early in the season, he struggled. He would get pulled mid-quarter, benched for turnovers, and often sat through entire fourth quarters. As the Jazz were a veteran team built around Carlos Boozer, Mehmet, and Andre Kirilenko, and they expected near perfection. But for Deron Williams, he wasn't rattled. He studied film relentlessly, worked with assistant coaches after practice, and slowly began to earn Sloan's trust. By February, you could see it. The game had slowed down. His passes hit shooters perfectly in rhythm, his famous crossover began to surface, and he wasn't just adapting into the NBA, he was learning how to command it. He finished his rookie season averaging 11 points, 4.5 assists, while shooting 42% from the field while appearing in 80 games. However, when the Rookie of the Year voting came in, Chris Paul won overwhelmingly. Deron Williams received just one first-place vote, finished 6th in media voting with 31 points, and coaches voting placed him at 4th among rookies. He was named to the All-Rookie First Team behind only Chris Paul, Charlie Villanueva, and Andrew Bogut. And for Utah, they finished the season with a 41-41 record, barely missing the playoffs. It wasn't a flashy rookie season, but one filled with promise. And within a year, Williams would not only take over the Jazz, he would take control of the entire Western Conference. Entering his second season, D. Will was no longer a rookie trying to find his way, he was ready to lead. After a full offseason of work and a deeper understanding of Sloan's system, he looked like a completely different player. His jumper was smoother, his reads were faster, his signature killer crossover was becoming a weapon that left defenders frozen. And the results spoke for themselves. Williams averaged 16 points and 9.3 assists per game, guiding Utah to a 51-31 record, their best season in years. He ranked among the league's assist leaders and had officially become the Jazz's new floor general. Every possession flowed through him, every play started and ended with his decision making. And for the playoffs, that was his real coming out party. In the first round, Utah battled the Houston Rockets in a grueling 7-game series. It was D. Will's first taste of playoff basketball, and he delivered. He went toe-to-toe with Trace McGrady and Yao Ming while averaging 16 points and 8 assists, including several clutch performances that pushed Utah over the edge. And they took Game 7 on the road, and D. Will showed he wasn't afraid of the moment. In the next round, the Jazz faced the We Believe Golden State Warriors that had just stunned Dallas. But Deron's calm leadership and Sloan's disciplined system, the Jazz advanced again, reaching the Western Conference Finals for the first time since the Stockton-Malone era. They'd eventually fall to the Tim Duncan Spurs, but the message was clear. D. Will had arrived. In the playoffs, he averaged 19 points, 8.5 assists, 3 rebounds, and 1.6 steals per game. He also shot 47% from the field and 40 from 3, solidifying himself as one of the league's elite young point guards. During the 2007-2008 season, he became one of the best point guards in the NBA. He averaged 19 points and 10.5 assists per game, becoming only the second player in Jazz history after John Stockton to average double-digit assists. Utah finished with 54 wins with one of the top offenses in the league. And in the playoffs, Deron Williams and the Jazz went to war against the Houston Rockets again, this time dominating the matchup. He averaged over 20 points and 10 assists in the series, outplaying seasoned veterans like Tracy McGrady once again. However, the Jazz ran into Kobe Bryant and the Lakers in the second round and fell in 6 games. Even in defeat, Deron was spectacular. Despite being snubbed from the All-Star game, players and coaches around the league respected him as a star in Utah. And that same summer, Deron Williams' reputation went global. He joined the Redeem Team, a loaded U.S. roster determined to reclaim basketball dominance on the Olympic stage. And playing behind Jason Kidd and Chris Paul, he embraced the role of a floor general off the bench. Whenever he checked in, the ball moved differently. He provided steadiness, toughness, and leadership every minute he played. Team USA stormed through the tournament, defeating Spain in a 118-107 victory in the gold medal game. He walked away with an Olympic gold medal, proving that even amongst the league's brightest stars, he belonged. And he wasn't just an NBA standout anymore, he was a world champion, a point guard trusted to run an offense alongside legends. Now, the following year, he entered the season with high expectations. He had officially become Utah's franchise player. Even while battling ankle injuries, he still managed to average 20 points and 11 assists, joining Chris Paul as the only player in the league to average double-digit assists. This was the year the point guard rivalry truly ignited. And whenever Utah faced New Orleans, it wasn't just Jazz vs Hornets, it was Deron vs CP3. Every game was a showcase of elite point guard play. Paul had the speed and quickness, Deron had the power and control. It was a rivalry built on mutual respect and fierce competition. As they pushed each other to the limits, defining an era where being a point guard meant mastering the game. And by the 2010 season, Deron Williams was at the height of his powers. He averaged 19 points and 10 assists per game. Every night he controlled the game, directing traffic, finding shooters, and punishing defenders off the dribble. The Jazz finished with 53 wins, and Deron earned his first All-Star selection, and in the playoffs, he was unstoppable. Against Denver, he averaged nearly 25 points and 11 assists, completely outdueling Chauncey Billups in the first round. Utah advanced once again, but for the third time in 4 years, the Lakers ended their run. And from the stretch of 2007 to 2010, only 2 players averaged over 18 points and 10 assists per game, Steve Nash and Deron Williams. But behind the scenes, something was brewing in Utah, tension that would soon change everything. By 2011, D. Will had it all: numbers, respect, and status. He was a 2-time All-Star in the face of the Utah Jazz. At 26 years old, he was in his prime, putting up 21 points and 10 assists per game in the best stretch of his career. But behind the winning seasons and the highlight plays, something wasn't right. The relationship between Deron Williams and head coach Jerry Sloan, the man who had led the Jazz for over 2 decades, was breaking down. And reports leaked that the two had argued during halftime of a game against the Bulls. And 2 days later, Jerry Sloan resigned after 23 seasons with the Jazz. And just like that, one of the most respected coaches' legacies in the NBA had just ended. And Deron Williams was blamed. Fans turned on him, media headlines painted him as a star who drove out a Hall of Fame coach, and for the first time in his career, his reputation was under fire. The Utah Jazz, sensing tension and fearing Deron would leave in free agency, made a decision that stunned the basketball world. On February 23, 2011, Deron Williams was traded to the Nets. In return, Utah received Derek Favors, Devin Harris, and 2 first-round picks. It marked the end of an era in Utah. The Jazz moved on to a rebuild, and D. Will became the centerpiece of a struggling Nets team desperate for a savior. D. Will only played 12 games to finish off the season, averaging 15 points and 12 assists, glimpses of brilliance despite the chaos around him. The team was bad, finishing with just 24 wins, but for the first time in years, the Nets had a star worth building around. And the idea was simple: rebuild the roster, move to Brooklyn, and give Deron the stage he deserves. He was just the first piece of the puzzle, the cornerstone of a rebrand that was supposed to change everything. The next year, the lockout-shortened season became Deron's first full campaign as a Net. And he was dominating, putting up 21 points and nearly 9 assists per game. And in February, he exploded for 47 points against the Charlotte Bobcats, setting a franchise record. He was still the same player from Utah, strong, confident, in control. But around him, the roster was falling apart. Injuries, trades, and poor defense dragged the team down. They finished just 22-44, missing the playoffs again. The numbers from D. Will were great, but the wins weren't there. And as the season ended, one question was in the air: would he re-sign and lead the team into Brooklyn, or leave for good? And that summer, the Nets made their move. They traded for Joe Johnson, a promising co-star and a future. That trade encouraged D. Will to re-sign a 5-year, $98 million deal, becoming the official face of the Brooklyn Nets. And for the 2012-13 season, Brooklyn basketball had arrived. A new city, a new logo, and a new co-star. And Deron Williams was supposed to be the leader of it all. However, he started the season slow, dealing with nagging ankle injuries, but by the All-Star break, he began to find his rhythm. That crossover was back, sharp, quick, and punishing. He averaged 19 points and 8 assists, leading the Nets to 49 wins in the first playoff berth in 6 years. The Nets were flashy, confident, and fun to watch, everything the franchise had dreamed of. But behind the highlights, the end was near for Deron Williams. His body started to betray him. The explosiveness that once defined his game began to fade. He could still control the pace, but those quick bursts and the deadly crossover that made him unstoppable weren't the same. And in the playoffs, Brooklyn had a heartbreaking loss in Game 7 against the Chicago Bulls. The D. Will was brilliant in stretches, but inconsistent. The pressure of carrying a franchise, the physical toll, and the expectations of becoming a savior, it started to catch up with him. However, the Nets still doubled down, and they went all in, because for them, good wasn't enough. They wanted greatness. And to achieve that, they went all in, trading for aging legends, setting up one of the most infamous super teams in modern NBA history. Deron Williams, Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, on paper a contender, but in reality, a disaster. The 2013-14 season, the Nets went all in, mortgaging their future for aging legends and banking on Deron to lead them. But his reoccurring ankle injuries were now holding him back. He missed 18 games that season, and his explosiveness replaced by hesitation and frustration. He averaged 14 points and 6 assists per game, which was respectable, but far from the player who once dominated the Western Conference. He could still orchestrate an offense, but the quick first step and the crossover that made defenders stumble wasn't there anymore. And without that burst, the Nets' offense looked slow and predictable. They finished the season strong, rallying to 44 wins and a playoff spot. And in the playoffs, D. Will had flashes, but it wasn't enough. And in the second round, Brooklyn fell to Miami. After that series, critics didn't blame Pierce or Garnett, they blamed Deron Williams. In the following year, the illusion officially broke. The super team was finished. Pierce left, Garnett faded, Joe Johnson struggled to carry the load, and for Deron, he was fighting just to stay on the court. His stats dipped to 13 points and 7 assists per game, and the Nets barely made the playoffs, sneaking in as the 8th seed. They were eliminated early, and it was official. Deron Williams wasn't the player that he used to be, and it wasn't just his body that gave out, it was his confidence. The swagger, the control, and the edge that defined him in Utah, all gone. And by 2015, Deron Williams looked like a shell of the player who once challenged Chris Paul for the best point guard in the NBA, and in July of 2015, the Nets bought out his contract. The man who was supposed to be the face of Brooklyn basketball was gone. After his buyout from the Nets, he needed a fresh start. He signed with the Dallas Mavericks, returning home to Texas. In Dallas, he wasn't a star anymore, he was a veteran stabilizer. He averaged 14 points and 6 assists per game, bringing leadership and experience to a rebuilding team. He helped guide the Mavericks back to the playoffs in 2016, but injuries struck again. He missed crucial time, and Dallas was eliminated early. By 2017, Dallas began to move younger, and Deron knew his time was running out. Then came one final opportunity, one last chance for the thing every player dreams of. In February 2017, D. Wells signed with the Cavaliers, joining LeBron James and Kyrie Irving for a championship run. He became their veteran backup point guard, a steady hand off the bench for a team with championship ambitions, but the truth was undeniable. The speed, confidence, and rhythm, they were all gone. He averaged just 7 points per game while shooting inconsistently and struggling to find his place in Cleveland's fast-paced offense. Then came the 2017 NBA Finals, Cleveland vs. Golden State, the ultimate test. And in that series, Deron looked lost. Across 5 games, he went scoreless in multiple outings. Deron Williams' run was over, he chased the ring but came up short, and just like that, he walked away from the game.